All right, let's continue what we learned in Torah Ohr. Torah Ohr. I really should have given this class first, but anyway, that's what popped up. As I said before, this is I'm giving this class early. I'm pre-recording the class because tomorrow, Wednesday, which I hope when you see this, it'll already be Wednesday. I won't be here in the morning. I'll be here in the afternoon, so we'll probably have a class at 3. But okay, let's continue. But let's try to remember what we learned yesterday in Torah Ohr. Now, Torah Ohr, again, is a book written by the first Rebbe of Chabad. This is written after the Tanya, after his book, the Tanya, a few years afterwards. And in between writing the book, the Tanya, which is the basic book of Chabad, and writing this book, the Rebbe was imprisoned. And he was like sort of on death row in a way. And even though he wasn't officially sentenced to death, but he was. And he was there for 53 days, and he miraculously got out. And he got out on the 19th day of Kislev, which is big celebrations over here in Israel. So here we go. And not just in Israel, and everywhere in the world by Chabad. And Chabad just schleps everybody else into it. Okay, so what are we talking about here? Here we're talking about the tribes, the Shvatim. And we said that Yaakov, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that they made it possible that God could begin to be revealed in the creation. The beginning of creation is what's called the world of Atzilut, higher than even the spiritual. Yaakov, Yitzchak, Abraham, their job was to break the ice, to show that it's possible that a human being with his own free will can choose to serve the creator of the universe against all obstacles, even against peer pressure. The whole world was against them. Everything in nature, including human nature, including their own human nature, was against them. And nevertheless, they chose every instant of their lives to serve the creator. And they had a result, but the result was not revealed here. Something like, let's say, God promised Abraham he's going to give him the land of Israel, and he didn't give it to him. The Jews only came into the land of Israel like 400 years after Abraham. And even then, it wasn't really permanent. That God promised Abraham 10 lands, 10 nations would be the land of 10 nations. And that has not happened yet. The best we got was 7. That was when Joshua went into the land of Israel. And we haven't got the last 3. Mashiach is going to bring the last 3 lands. Okay, so in other words, we have to wait. So it's the same thing spiritually. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they revealed God into the world. What they wanted to do was to reveal it in the actual physical world down here, like it is in the temple, like it will be in the time of Mashiach. But they did not succeed in doing this. If Adam had not eaten from the tree, he could have succeeded in doing it. But okay, let's bygones be bygones. What did Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob do? They revealed godliness in the world of Atzilut, in this highest aspect of God. It's like putting, let's say, $3 billion in your bank account, right? But you can only take it out in 4,000 years. Now, that's not so good. But you're considered to be rich, though. It's in years. Nobody else can touch it. There it is. It's for you. And maybe if you really work hard, you can get out some of it, a little bit of it. You can come and look at it. Once in a while, you can have your creditors come and look at it. So, you're considered to be a rich man. So Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, they pulled godliness down into the world of Atzilut, being put into the bank. How is it accessible to us? Good if they drew it down there. How can it be accessible to us? We want to have love of God now. So that's the 12 tribes. So the 12 tribes also, that's different ways of serving God, different approaches to access this feeling of God's oneness and his goodness and his power, etc. So the tribes are called Shvatim. A Shevet is like a branch. And Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they're like the tree. So they're the tree of godliness. And the tribes, they're like branches of godliness that come down and are available to us. Okay, what do you mean they're available to us? How can we access this godliness, this love, this awe from God. How can we do it? So here we go. Behold, Midas Yaakov, the attribute of Jacob was of blessed memory, was mercy, upper mercy. Okay, now we have to think about this a little bit, because if you do, then it's a very, let me say, inspiring thing. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they didn't just bring the awareness of God to the Jews. Through the Jews, they brought it to the whole entire world. So, I mean, let's just take this a little bit, a little bit more seriously, deeper. Love, like we talked about before. What is love? Love means you see something valuable in someone, in something valuable, something precious in the thing, something. The uniqueness, right, of something that's close to you and that you can connect to it. The ultimate, this is wonderful. A person sees his wife, his mother, his children. If he can recognize it in them, then he loves them. That's the normal relationship that people should have, is the appreciate. Now, the fact is, God is the ultimate good. God is creating everybody, and he's creating everybody with some sort of a really good, precious uniqueness. Everybody. There's 8 billion people in the world, 8 billion unique diamonds, or whatever you want to call it, if you appreciate diamonds, if you appreciate souls a little bit. So that's what Abraham brought into the world, that we can start to appreciate souls. We can start to appreciate God. We can have an actual love for every human being, and also for everything in the world. Everything in the world is a big miracle. Isaac, Yitzchak, he brought joy into the world, power. We can change things like a joke, right? You bring things out, all of a sudden, unusual changes. You never. What did Yaakov bring into the world? Jacob, he brought what's called mercy. Now, if you think about this 1 second, you realize how incredibly lucky and fortunate that we are. And anyone who thinks about this, what the incredible mercy of God is. We've got eyes, we can see. And what an amazing miracle it is to have eyes. We have ears, we have feet, we have hands, we have teeth, we have a mind, we can understand, we can learn. You have shoes on your feet, you have this. Nothing can be taken for granted. This is all from the amazing mercy of God. Incredible mercy. That's why I always say, regarding, let's say, it's a touchy subject, but regarding the Holocaust, right? What happened? It was terrible. There's no explanation for the atrocities and for the pain, for the suffering. It's unfathomable, right? So some people will say, well, that shows that God is not good. So, I mean, my answer to that is, I mean, you certainly have a good point. I mean, there's no real way of explaining how God could make so much pain in the world if he's good. I mean, Moshiach is going to have to answer a lot of questions about that. But on the other hand, let's think for a second. What was so bad about the Holocaust? That people died. So big deal. So you lost your life? What do you mean? How can you say anything like that? Life is precious. Oh, life is really precious? Of course. What's the question? And those people that didn't die, so they lost their eye, they lost their ear, they lost their comfort, they lost their minds. So what's the big deal? So you lost an eye. So what? So how can you say anything like that? Eyes are precious. Oh, really? Life is precious. Eyes are precious. Ears are precious. Well, we have life. We have eyes. We have ears. We have life. We have all these things. Is it precious to us? We should come to God with big questions about the Holocaust. Terrible, awesome questions. Why did you do it? How could you do it? Yes, we can come to God about the bad things, but let's not forget about the good things. I mean, and even more, the reason that these things were bad was because it was a lack of the good things. We can't take these good things for granted. We just took for granted that we're alive. And all these people that they did die. The life that they had, they had been alive before. That was a gift. It was better that they shouldn't have been born. Huh? Maybe the people nowadays with these, pro-death people, these abortion guys, maybe they'll say, yeah, it's better that nobody should be alive. I mean, from one thing for sure, I mean, there is a good logic to say it would be better that they weren't alive, these pro-abortion guys, but God forbid even to say that. Every human being is precious, even if they don't think so, but the fact is that they are. So life is a big mercy. It's the mercy of the creator of the universe. And we can never take it for granted. And that's the aspect that Jacob brought into the world, Yaakov. Mercy. Shafilu al kala olamos, even on all the upper worlds. The angels, it's relevant mercy. Like it says in another place. But that was Jacob. The aspect of the Shvatim, of the tribes, the branches that came out, that came from the loins of Jacob, these are different levels which are below him. One second, I want to make this thing bigger over here. About eyes. Here we go. Oh. Okay, so the tribes, the 12 tribes that came out from Jacob, these are lower aspects of God that are more relevant to the world that come down. And this shows how great God's mercy is on the spark of godliness which is inside of us. And if we think about this, sit and think about the greatness of God, how it is that God is infinitely, infinitely high, above even the spiritual, and that everything in front of God is like nothing. And everything is totally negated to God. We're totally dependent on God creating us. And including also the spiritual things, our soul. That our soul comes out from what's called this a portion of God from above. It also is a tremendous mercy that God gives us this. This is totally surrendered and negated to God. How it is that the soul came down so low from such a high place. And when you think about this, right, where the source of our soul is, so we'll see on one hand how great God's mercy is already on us, that he keeps us alive, but also how much we depend on God's mercy. The soul was so high and now it's come down so low, as it's God's tremendous mercy that God has to have on us in order to take us out of this prison that we're in, that God put us in, namely what? Our bodies that were born. Similarly, Al Derech Zeh is the whole prayer, Psuki de Zimra, the order of the prayer book of the Jewish people. It says it's generally 4 rungs of the ladder, of Jacob's ladder. The first, we start thinking about God and praising God. The Psalms of King David. There's many, many that talk about how Shivcho Shel Mokom, the praises of God, higher and higher. And this, when we see how high God is and how incredibly low we are, then we realize the great mercy that God has on us and the even greater mercy that we need on a spark of God that's so low. By means of this, that arouses, when we arouse this mercy, our arousal from below, this arouses in God that he gives us even more mercy. Kamola Mashal, like for instance, what's this thing? Let's get out of here. Kamol, mercy, a shevet ba'anav shall ilan shekofafimoto, something like a branch of a tree. If you bend it, then you pull the branch of the tree, so the whole tree goes down. So it is also the arousal from below that we give when we pray and we say, God, have mercy on me. So the only reason that we can have a feeling that we need mercy is because we've been thinking about how incredibly low we are in relation to how incredibly high God is. How did we even have the ability to think about how high God is, to conceive of it? This is because we're receiving from what's called these branches, the Shvatim. And it's like when you pull a branch on the tree, it draws the whole tree down. So by using these branches and this little bit of feeling of godliness that we do have, this pulls down the tree, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the big level of mercy and love, the great mercy that came from Jacob, the Nimshach, or Ein Sof, to be drawn down godliness from that level of the fathers in revealed way. benafsho, in your soul. Suddenly you don't feel alone. Suddenly you feel that, wow, I'm a creation, I'm a miracle. The whole world is a miracle. My whole life is just the mercy of the Creator. It's all just an amazing gift. That's what's called dot. Dot means feeling. You feeling, it's as though you see God. You see you're being created. And that's what we say. Avinu, our Father, Ava Rachaman, the merciful Father. Racham Na'aleinu, have mercy on us. This is the prayer right before Shema in the morning. There's two blessings we make before Shema Yisrael. One is telling about how the angels praise God. And the second one is talking about how God took us out of Egypt. And we're saying, God, please have mercy on us and put into our hearts understanding. Shekadei, in order that our hearts should be a vessel and a proper vehicle for understanding God in a feeling way of the heart. This is by means of God's mercy. In the world of art, it's called what? A muse, inspiration, genius. Suddenly you receive feelings from above. You don't know where. Which I told you the story about 40 times already, but that once Beethoven, he wrote one of his symphonies, a part for violin that a violin couldn't play. And the person with the violin came to Beethoven and said, there's no way you can play these notes on the violin. And Beethoven said, I'm talking to God. What do I care about your stupid violin? Right? In other words, the physical world, he's receiving inspiration. Well, but here we're talking about a whole different type of inspiration. This is an inspiration that we feel the great, incredible mercy of the Creator of the universe, that He gives us everything we've got, including the inspiration from music and all the other. That's like small change, and that we can understand it, but we feel it. That's dot. It says mercy and dot and feeling depend one on the other. Like it says, a person that hasn't got dot, that hasn't got any feeling of reality, you can't have mercy on him. No matter what you do, he's not going to improve because he never feels anything. Okay, so how does this occur? By us praying to God, us turning ourselves to God, by us elevating ourselves to our Creator, and feeling how deep and amazing the Creator is and how tremendous He has mercy on us. We have to start. The question is, what do you mean we have to start? How can we possibly start anything? We just finished saying that everything we have is being given to us by God, including this desire to be attached to God. That's also God's mercy. So it has to be that God starts the whole business. He's the one that really begins. He's the one that gives us the initiative to turn to Him, to contemplate. Where do we get this original idea from, this original spark? He says that's what's going to be Lavan. This comes from a tremendously higher level of mercy of God, which is higher than Jacob. That's going to be the thing of Lavan, and that we're going to talk about, God willing, tomorrow. Have a good day with Moshiach Now, and we'll resume our classes on Thursday. Shalom uvracha. God bless you all.